First, I want to get to CNN White House correspondent Sarah Murray. She has more on the ouster of Health Secretary Tom Price. So, Sarah, what are you learning about this move and how it all went down?
Well, Brianna, we know the president was extremely frustrated with Price, and he was looking to move an embarrassing distraction off the table. Price tendering his resignation, and in part of the letter saying, in order for you to move forward without further disruption, I am tendering my resignation, perhaps closing a chapter on this.
I'm not happy, okay? I can tell you, I'm not happy.
President Trump today accepting the resignation of Health and Human Services Secretary Tom Price. The bombshell announcement coming after days of mounting controversy over Price's travel on private jets at a cost estimated to be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Not a question of confidence. I was disappointed because I didn't like it, cosmetically or otherwise. I was disappointed. And, you know, this is an administration that saves hundreds of millions of dollars on renegotiating things. So I don't like to see somebody that perhaps there's the perception that it wasn't right.
Price agreed to repay a fraction of the overall tab, but sources say the offer only appeared to exacerbate Trump's anger.
We have great secretaries, and we have some that actually own their own planes, as you know, and that solves that. But we put it in order that no more planes.
This as the humanitarian crisis in Puerto Rico continues to mount, leaving Trump to defend the federal government's response.
When you have a Category 5 wipe out an island like this, because you have nothing. You don't have the roads, you don't have anything, and you don't have the people even to operate the equipment.
Characterizing the crisis as unprecedented, he painted a bleak picture of Puerto Rico's conditions before the storm.
The electrical grid and other infrastructure were already in very, very poor shape. They were at their life's end prior to the hurricanes. We're literally starting from scratch. We will not rest, however, until the people of Puerto Rico are safe.
So you see the president making those assurances there to the people of Puerto Rico, and I can tell you that officials here at the White House have been particularly touchy, particularly sensitive about the criticism and some of the scrutiny they've got over the reaction to this storm. They insist that the federal government is doing everything they can, and of course President Trump is slated to visit next week.
He certainly is on Tuesday. All right, Sarah Murray at the White House. Thank you, ma'am. And I want to bring in CNN aviation and government regulation correspondent Renee Marsh as well. You've been covering this scandal, Renee, over private jets that cost Tom Price his job. There are other cabinet members who are being looked at.
There certainly are. And of course, we should remember that Tom Price, this whole scandal, it developed over a matter of days. And tonight, even though Tom Price is out, the Inspector General probing his excessive use of private jets says that the work will continue, as other cabinet secretaries now have to account for their flights on private planes.
In the end, it was the same type of lavish private jet flights that Tom Price railed about as a congressman that brought him down.
I think we've made it halfway where we ought to, and that is cut it from 8 to 4 jets. Now we need to cut it from 4 jets to 0 jets. This is just another example of fiscal irresponsibility run amok in Congress right now.
As Secretary of Health and Human Services, Price spent hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars on private planes and hundreds of thousands more when he and his wife flew on military jets for 2 international trips from Liberia, Germany, Switzerland to China, Vietnam, and Japan, racking up a bill in the neighborhood of $1 million since August. His wife reimbursed the government for her flights, and Price said he would repay just over $51,000, a fraction of the total cost. Price also went on Fox News to try to make amends.
And I look forward to regaining the trust that the American people, some of the American people may have lost in the activities that I took, and to not only regain the trust of the American people, but gain the trust of the administration and the president.
Price was just one of the cabinet secretaries whose travel is being scrutinized. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt, and Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke all under scrutiny. Today, Zinke firing back.
I'd just like to address, in the words of General Schwarzkopf, a little BS on travel.
Zinke says his agency did extensive due diligence before taking 3 charter flights as well as a military flight. The cost of the private jets, at least $15,000.
Using tax dollars wisely and ethically is a greatest responsibility, and it is at the good heart of good government. And there are times, however, we have to utilize charter services because we often travel in areas and under circumstances that we don't have other flight options.
The question of whether there were other options is at the heart of some of the internal probes. A source tells CNN the Treasury Inspector General is now focusing on the process of approving travel and whether some flimsy excuses are being used to justify costly travel.
Well, there are a total of 3 Inspector General probes happening right now focused on Trump cabinet members' travel. The president has called for a halt on all private jet travel for cabinet members, and understandably so.
And the spousal travel has been a thing. It was with the Treasury Secretary as well. You asked, what did you ask the Department of Health and Human Services about the spousal travel for Tom Price? What did you learn?
Yeah, so on those 2 international trips where they traveled on the military jet, we do know that his wife accompanied him. HHS did tell me that she reimbursed her flight. However, the follow-up question was when, and we have yet to hear an answer. So we don't know if this was something that perhaps they may have paid just yesterday when this all kind of blew up and he said he was going to write that check. It really is unclear because they haven't answered.
Yeah, it's really important to note. All right, Renee Marsh, thank you so much. Great reporting.